Henry said, "Please don't do this, Laura." My wife, with whom I have been married for 7 years, was getting ready for a date. Goodbye, with another man. "Henry, we've been through this before. I'm leaving. He wants me, and I want him. You can just accept it." "Is it worth getting a divorce because of him?" Laura stopped applying her makeup and turned to me. "You know you won't divorce me. You know that if you divorce me, all that will happen is that I will get the house and the kids, and you will have to pay me alimony and maintenance. I will make it so that you will not be able to see girls, and you will simply pay me for sex with other men, but you will not receive anything yourself." She went back to applying her makeup. I was stunned that this was the same woman I had dated for a year and been married to for the past 7 years. All this time, she showed me only love, respect, and support. Now it looks like it was just a show. She was good. "How would your mother feel about what you are doing?" "Henry, you are so naive and gullible. It was her idea. I was raised for this purpose. A woman is expected to have power in a marriage. We are not as physically strong as men, so we need to prove our superiority in other ways. Mom did the same thing with Dad when I was little. In the end, he came to terms with his place, and you will too. Of course, it will be difficult, and your fragile male ego will probably resist, but in the end, you will understand that the best solution is to just agree." She finished her makeup and checked her hair. Laura was certainly a beautiful woman. She was Armenian, with dark skin and long, straight black hair. She had a slightly upturned nose, which she said gave her some problems in her youth, but she fixed it, and now it, combined with her deep brown eyes, gave her an exotic, sultry look. When we got married, I felt like I had found a gold mine. As I watched her, she suddenly reached under her skirt with her hands, pulled off her thong, and threw it on the floor. I decided that it would only get in the way. "Laura, if you do this, I won't be here when you get back." She looked at me again like I was an idiot. "Darling, I'm sorry that you're having a hard time coming to terms with this. Despite what you think, I really love you. I decided to marry you because of my feelings for you, and because you are a better man and father than any other man could hope to be. Other men bring me nothing but physical pleasure. I just need more than one man can give. But if you stop stressing me out so much, I'll reward you when I get home." Did she really think this was some kind of incentive? Her tone of voice certainly sounded serious. She continued, "But before that happens, I have to warn you. I know you always liked me pretty and furry, but he likes smooth girls, so I shaved it all off." The blows continued. "You must be joking. So some guy wants you to shave there, and his desire takes precedence over the desire of your own husband, and I have to accept this? Maybe not accept it, but accept it as you would accept everything that you cannot change. And if you excite me very well, then I will please you very much. I will caress you in other ways and will please you." Not that there was any chance that everything would be fine, but this, of course, was the proverbial last straw. "Why don't you just leave me and go to him?" She laughed as if it was the most ridiculous proposal in the world. "I told you, Henry, that no man can satisfy all my sexual needs. Plus, he only makes $25,000 a year. He's just a nobody in the warehouse, and the girls he's been with say he knows how to use it. No, we need your income to support the lifestyle that me and your children deserve." So what do I look like? I noticed that she never once mentioned that she loved me as a reason. Like a slut. At this, she laughed. "You're just trying to be rude, but that's exactly what I wanted to say." She grabbed her purse, put her ID, spare lipstick, and emergency money in it, and headed to the front door. Before leaving, she came up to me and tried to kiss me. I turned my head so that she only had my cheek, but even so, I was shaking a little. "Henry, I know it will be difficult at first. This is not what you expected from your life, and it will take some getting used to. But you will learn to appreciate the lack of responsibility that this means for you. Everything will be fine in the end, I just know it. After all, you were a soldier, so you were used to following orders, right? Everything will work out. And now it's time for me to run." And with that, she left. It was about 7 o'clock in the evening, so I had some free time. Some kind of soldier? I didn't talk much about my time in the military, that's true. And she never asked about it, so I guess that was all she could guess. She soon learns that serving in the army is much more than being a soldier. At about 7:30, I finally called her mom. Although I knew more than they thought, I approached Margaret as if I was completely dumbfounded by the events of the evening. I talked about my conversation with Laura. I knew Laura's father had been seriously flogged, but before it all started, I didn't realize the true extent of it. She explained everything the same way Laura did. "Oh, Henry, I know this will be hard for you to come to terms with. You just have to understand that women use natural choice to be in charge, and we have to use every means at our disposal to gain that advantage and control you. And the fact is that despite what you may think based on messages in popular culture, women need a lot more sex than men, and they can keep it longer and better. We must have more than one lover, and we need other men to fill certain roles." I had a hard time not laughing hysterically as she expounded on her philosophy. "This is true?" I asked. "Certainly. Like my husband, Gary, your main role is to provide financial support and raise children. And if you do this well, you are rewarded accordingly in the form of access to our bodies. Laura told me that she only wants to have sex with her lover, and that she will simply satisfy me when I ask for it, that she is intended only for her lover. Don't worry about it. It's temporary. This needs to be done at the very beginning so that you have something to strive for. Once you become more comfortable with your role, you will be more able to please her in these ways. In fact, she will need it. Since you are her husband and social norms dictate that you be the one she lives with, she will need you to help her keep a clear head so she can run the family properly. Is all this clear? You know, Margaret, you explained everything wonderfully. It really makes sense. I'm glad I could help you clarify the situation. I know it seems harsh and such a big change, but it won't take long before you get into the rhythm and even start to enjoy the role you're playing. I'm sure you're right, but please make sure the girls are in bed by 9 o'clock. Of course, Henry, I will gladly fulfill your wishes in this regard. We women are not so unreasonable. And don't hesitate to call me if you have any more questions. Perhaps I can answer them a little more clearly than Laura. Margaret's complicity in this matter will not remain without consequences. She would not be physically harmed, but I believed that the means by which she would suffer would actually be more painful for her. You see, I was more than aware of what Laura was going to do. Laura was too trusting. She assumed that I would just go along with whatever happened day after day and that she had deceived me. But something in her behavior indicated that the situation was changing, so I turned to a few of my brothers in arms to help me by simply doing what they do best. Alan was the smartest of us. He worked in intelligence units when we were overseas and learned almost everything there was to know about surveillance and electronic security. He tapped our phones, tapped Laura's car, purse, and cell phone. He had numerous audio recordings of her conversations with her mother, friends, and lover about what they were planning. I suspected that some of her friends were planning to do the same thing, depending on how Laura's attempt went. David also worked in intelligence, but he was a simpler person than Alan. David was one of those who forged documents for various agents abroad. He no longer did this in civilian life, but retained the knowledge that allowed him to do it, if necessary. But there was a need. David was also one of the best computer hackers. One of my overseas commanders, Mark, was now an executive at a company that did quite a bit of business overseas, and this gave him access to the company's private jet. He could use it at his discretion and did not require special reporting. And finally, Jason, Carl, and Dennis JCD, as we called them. These guys were warriors, but they were good at it. They shot their weapons perfectly and could move silently like everyone else. All the guys were on alert, and at 22 hours, the plan was put into action. My request to put the children to bed by 9 o'clock was part of the plan. I packed several suitcases for myself and the kids, mostly with items of personal and sentimental value. Of course, there were clothes, but the bulk of the things were toys. We could buy more clothes. I loaded them into the car and began the last trip to visit relatives. I stopped in front of Margaret and Gary's house. The house was dark, only the light was on in the living room. Laura's parents were watching TV. I went out and found that JCD was already there and watching the house. Jason informed me. The kids went to bed at 9 and were most likely asleep within 15 minutes or so. Subjects have been watching TV since 9:30. The husband went to the kitchen several times for drinks and snacks, but that was not the end of their movements. We're ready to come in when you're ready. Just tell us. Do it. JCD approached the house. If I didn't know they were there, I wouldn't even notice them. They used only their hands. No automation was required for this operation. I just stood there and watched with interest as the guys entered the living room and quickly tied up Margaret and Gary. I slowly walked up to the house and entered through the front door. I heard Margaret beg, "Please don't touch us. You probably made a mistake. We didn't do anything. Our granddaughters sleep in the next room. Please just let us go. We won't say a word to anyone." At that moment, she saw me enter the room and fell silent. "What are you just saying, Margaret? Don't keep us in suspense." "Henry, what's going on here? Release us immediately." "Shut up, Margaret." I had never talked to her like that, and she was shocked. "Neither Laura nor you can do anything about it. I suggest you just listen to what I am about to tell you. Please leave your questions until the end." As we spoke, JCD calmly and efficiently secured each of them to one of the dining room chairs. These guys were experts at this. Margaret and Gary will sit on these chairs until someone unties them or until they manage to break the chairs into pieces. "Margaret and Gary, I have decided that I will not accept the future that you and your daughter tried to dictate to me. As tempting as it may be to live your life serving your daughter and putting all the responsibility on her, I just don't think I can do it. I'm sure my sarcasm was obvious. I became aware of your little plan some time ago, and I took my own measures to deal with it. And since you agreed with him and actually encouraged him, this means that you too will suffer certain consequences." "And what will be the consequences?" Margaret interrupted sarcastically. "Margaret, I asked you to leave your questions until the end. I'll get all the information you need, but since you asked, I'll answer that question now. Your consequence is the one that, in my opinion, will cause you the most pain. You will never see your granddaughters again." "Henry, no, please. No, you can't do this. Please don't do this." I raised my hand to stop her words. "I can, and I will do it. But Laura is still young. Perhaps over time, she will provide you with a replacement. But that's not my concern." She suddenly became aggressive, trying to gain the upper hand. "We'll find you, Henry. We will spare no expense to find you. You know we have money. We will find you, and you will be sorry." "Please try, Margaret, but you're wrong about one thing. You, as you say, have no money." "What are you talking about?" "Well, due to the consequences of never seeing your grandchildren again, some steps had to be taken to prevent the very action you foresee. Therefore, I had to take such an unpleasant step as emptying all your bank accounts, except for those that will allow you to stay afloat for a month or two. That goes for your investment accounts, your 401k, and even that little secret bank account you and Laura opened as an escape fund that you think I didn't know about. How could you do this? As you can see from the friends who are with me today, it is obvious that many of you underestimated the resources available to me thanks to my military career, which is how I got my hands on almost all the money that is between you and us, including advances on all your credit cards. Before you can even think about pursuing me, you'll have to deal with a surprisingly crushing debt load. Gary, I hope you're not planning on retiring anytime soon. On the other hand, I will never have to work again. Gary didn't say a word, and he still hasn't. He just looked at me, although I think part of him hoped that I would offer to take him with me. But the good news is that you will be in this together. Laura won't be able to afford the house because she doesn't work, and with the mortgage I got on it, even selling the damn thing won't do anything for you. Her credit cards are canceled, and yours are almost maxed out. You won't have enough money to pay attention to her, so she will have to live with you, and maybe the two of you can arrange it. We'll find a way anyway, bastard. Just wait. I'm looking forward to it, really. I'll even give you a little hint to help you. Don't bother looking in the U.S. We won't be here. And don't bother looking for Henry, Riley, or Lily Weston. After tonight, these people will no longer exist, at least on paper. Neither of them could think of anything else to say, so I went into the house and woke up the girls. "Dad," they shouted in unison. We gathered their things and I explained that we were going on a short trip. They looked excited and I didn't say anything when they said that Mom should be excited too. We'll talk about this later, but not now. I drove to the private airfield where Mark's corporate jet was waiting. Jason drove my car to the local Motel 6. I checked into to make things a little confusing. We boarded the plane and took our seats. The girls were amazed at how much space they had. There was very little seating, at least compared to a commercial plane, and they were mostly free to roam and play. On the plane, information about our new identities was waiting for us. The flight was several hours away, and I took this opportunity to explain to the girls that something had happened and we would no longer see Mom and Grandma and Grandpa. I also told them about their new names and where we will live. I would tell you, but I can't risk you telling Laura. You understand? They were sad and cried, but I was sure that eventually they would adapt. They were still young. Laura said, "I finally got home from my date at 3 in the morning. In fact, it was only a date in the strictest sense of the word. There was no romance, no affection. We met at a bar, had a few drinks, and then immediately went to his house. Today we had sex with more than just the guy I originally dated. We met a couple more of his friends at the bar, and I took on all of them, and I pretty much wore them all out. Of course it hurt, but I could continue. Henry should have realized that I needed more than he could give. This wasn't a knock against him. No man could satisfy all my needs, and I wasn't fully satisfied for a damn long time until I got him where I needed him to start this whole thing. But I was going to make up for lost time, that's for sure. I pressed the garage door opener and waited for the door to rise. I wasn't surprised that Henry's seat was empty. Dad reacted the same way, Mom told me. I hoped that everything would go smoothly, but my mother was right when she said that men's egos would not allow them to accept so easily. Perhaps I was too harsh. I mean, I know Larry wants exclusive rights to me, even though he had no problem giving me away to his cronies. But I thought that Henry's position as my husband should give him the right to something more. So when he comes crawling back, I will agree to allow him to have sex with me. This should have smoothed things out. I took a long shower, then went to bed naked and fell asleep instantly. I woke up to have slept just fine. I was used to having Henry next to me, and his absence affected me more than I expected, but it was only proof that I really loved him, despite the fact that, what is he thinking now? But he will soon return to my bed. His love for children ensures that he will straighten up and do everything right when I tell him to. I laughed a little to myself as I imagined him coming back and begging me to let him service me so he could see the girls. It was already about 11 o'clock in the morning, and Henry was not home yet. It wasn't surprising, but the longer he was gone, the more I planned to make him apologize. I called Mom and Dad at home to see how the girls were doing, but got no answer. Then I called each of their phones and got no answer either. Strange, I thought. They always answered. Concerned, I went to their home. After 20 minutes, I drove up to their entrance. Their car was also parked, and everything looked as it should have. I expected them to be out since they weren't answering the phone, or maybe they were working in the yard. I opened the door. "Mother, Dad." I barely heard the answer, which seemed strange to me. "Laura, honey, here, faster." I rushed into the living room and was shocked to find them both tied to chairs and lying on their sides on the floor. My God. Mother, Dad, what's happened? I tried to untie them while my mother explained. "He took the children, Laura. It was Henry. He took them." "What are you saying, Mom? Henry did this to you and then took the girls." "Yes, he and his friends. Army guys, it seems." "I don't know. They came in, tied us up, and Henry took the girls and left. He said he was leaving the country and we would never see them again." My head was spinning from this information. Did I really underestimate him that much? I would never have thought that he was capable of such a thing. There must be another explanation. I finished untying Mom and told her to free Dad and then dialed Henry's cell phone number. I'll sort everything out, I thought. He'll get his ass back here with my kids, or he'll be damn sorry. Henry said the phone rang with Laura's expected call. I kept this phone and connected it to international calling just for this call. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello? You son of a bitch. Where are you? I hung up. A few minutes later, she called again. Don't hang up, motherfucker, Henry. I hung up again. The phone rang again. This time I spoke first. Laura, this is your last chance for a polite conversation. If I hang up again, that will be the last time you hear my voice. Is it clear? I could almost hear her frowning into the phone. Yes, I understood. So what's going on? Why were my parents tied up, and where are my children? Well, let me answer these questions in reverse order. First of all, you don't have any more children. Those who used to be your children are here with me, where they will remain, and you will not see them again. Bullshit, bastard. Give me back my children, otherwise you will regret it. This is your last warning about language, Laura. Keep it polite, or I'll end this now. I kept this phone number open just so we could talk again. The next time I hang up, this number will no longer work. So if you want answers, watch what you say. Clear? Laura's tone of voice immediately changed. Most likely, she thought that she would still be able to get through to me, but now she needed to appear calm. She was mistaken, of course, but she didn't know it yet. Yes. Sorry, I'm just really upset. Imagine how I felt when my parents were tied up and my children disappeared. Imagine how I felt when I was told that I would be forced to support my slutty wife while she had sex with everything that moved, or I would face abandonment of my children. None of this would have happened if you had stayed home instead of going out to have sex with 3 different guys. Yes, I've been following you. I know exactly what you did. Henry, baby, I didn't mean it. I was just trying to get you to fight for me and show me how much you love me. We have been married for 7 years. I don't have to fight for you anymore. A woman just likes to be reminded how desirable she is, that's all. This is complete nonsense, and you know it. Your mother explained everything to me. My role is that of a breadwinner and teacher of children, and the reward for good work is your permission to have sex with you. All other men who will serve to satisfy your sexual needs will be in the shadows and will always be ready to have sex with you, since that is all they can do for you. Well, now you can try to apply these conditions on someone else. You were stupid if you thought I'd agree to what you're trying to pull off. Henry, please forgive me. Just give me back my children. I'll do anything. Sorry, Laura. You showed your true colors, and that was the end of it. As I told your mother, you can try to find us, but we live under different names and in another country. They have new birth certificates that don't even list you as their mother, so you don't have to go through the paperwork. For the first time in my life, I'm glad that my parents died in that car accident. Then it would be more difficult to leave. Goodbye, Laura. I heard her scream my name as I turned off the call and threw the phone into the water. I turned to my 4-year-old companions. So, Lucy, Janie, what are we going to do today?